resident of Collinwood for YouTube. Joel Sains, that is my buddy Patrick McCray, that is my buddy Alan Gallant. Before we get started, guys, Stuart Goodman has passed away. He was the Dark Shadows cameraman.
Was.
So before we get started on Logan's Run, let's take a moment of silence for the late Stuart Goodman. Okay.
Okay.
So, guys, Logan's Run was directed by Michael Anderson, screenplay by David Zelag Goodman, produced by Saul David, cinematographer is Ernest Laszlo, music by Jerry Goldsmith, release date June 23rd, 1976. Budget was $7 million, between $7 and $8 million. Box office was $25 million. So, guys, Logan's Run. Michael York is here. Jenny Agutter is here. Very beautiful woman. Very beautiful woman. When did you guys first see this movie, Patrick?
Oh gosh, probably 1977, 78. It was released in what, 76?
Mm-hmm.
It came to TV
summer
very quickly.
It did.
And I think that can be attributed to Star Wars. So I think it was on TV as of fall of 77, which is probably when the TV series was going on the air. The odd part was that I have no memory of the TV series, and I was already of an age where I was monitoring that kind of stuff. I've been watching Fantastic Journey and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, Logan's Run, I found out about years later, and I don't know how that passed me by. But it did.
I'm not sure either. It didn't make a huge impact on me either, and I watched a couple episodes of it back in the day. I'm sure I did. I also saw this probably somewhere 77, 78 on television. That's when I saw it.
I think because the TV series didn't have Michael York in it.
Yeah.
I just discounted it. It's like, I was Turkish. Mm-hmm. I don't want that.
Yeah, like I say, it didn't make as much of an impact on me as the film did. I kind of like this film. Or I like a lot of the sort of period benchmarks in it as much as anything. But I enjoy the film itself too. And Peter Ustinov's my absolute favorite part of the whole film.
He's great with those cats.
Yeah.
He's great with the cats. Yeah.
And he's playing a guy who's probably supposed to be like 75 or 80 years old, and he's only like 53. So
people age differently then.
Well, not only that, but I mean, theatrically, he could play a very wide range. You know, he could play the pubert parts. You know, the aging son of the dowager or whatever, and play younger. But
this is only 10 years after he'd done all those beach movies for Corman.
That's right. He stopped the regimen, though. It's pretty clear.
The wetness for the prosecution.
Okay. So, guys, before we continue with the movie, talk to me about the series for a moment. Did it go off the movie precisely, or what?
I have to go back and look a little bit because I only have vague memories of the series. I think their thing was to replicate the sort of drama of the series and the idea of running. It's just going on and on kind of thing.
Logan's treadmill.
Yeah, and sort of a sci-fi version of Run for Your Life or one of those kind of shows or something.
I'm glad you asked me that question because for a time, you were looking at the person who, for a time, was in charge of the Logan's media license.
Oh, no kidding.
My hand to God.
Yeah.
This thing landed in my lap through the nefarious Blue Water Comics, run by Darren Davis, who didn't like to pay people and still has not paid me for a comic book that sold a lot.
Yeah.
Specifically, both the Britney Spears and Betty White biocomics. The Betty White biocomics sold out in less than 8 hours. Its full run. The artwork was free because it was also a back end deal. And yet, anyway, it didn't matter.
And yet nobody got it anymore.
We all got it in the back end.
You got in the rear end. You mean you got the Dan contract?
But anyway, now I'm looking like Foster Brooks. Every episode I look different. Now I'm looking like Foster Brooks. Anyway,
need a little length to the beard and some wax in there.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Foster Brooks. Wow, that's really that's a friend of my grandfather's. Anyway, so yeah, I held the rights and was working on a role playing game about it when I realized no one cared. And the guy I was working with backed out, so that went that. But as it turned out, it was just the book and TV. It was the book rights. Now, Jewel, because I know you're a big history guy, this all started out as a series of books by William Nolan.
Yes,
and they followed the Logan Society quite a ways. These have been out of print forever. I mean, they'd been out of print for decades when the somehow the lucrative rights landed in my lap. It's like writing books on Dark Shadows. Anyway, so the TV series did follow the movie, and because the movie was a big hit. I mean, to put it in perspective, in terms of science fiction blockbusters, you had 2001: A Space Odyssey and Planet of the Apes, roughly within about the same year or so.
68.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
67, 68. And then a bunch of dystopic stuff, ape sequels, things like that. You'd think with the moon landing there'd be something. No. And then Logan's Run. And Logan's Run was huge. I mean, people were crazy about this. There were science fiction clubs in small towns devoted just to Logan's Run.
Right. And fanfic came out in large gobs, or part of other larger fan fiction.
Yeah. But it was just its own thing. Like you can be a science fiction fan or you can be a Star Wars fan. That's how Logan's Run was. And all those clubs got co-opted by Star Wars. When it came out, they just said, be a Star Wars.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how big this was. And there were comics, all 9 yards. So the TV series was produced by Leonard Goldberg.
Lenny Goldberg, who was the
Dark Shadows fan.
Yes, vice president in charge of daytime at ABC.
One of the guys who kept Dark Shadows on the air.
Yeah.
And brought it on the air and nurtured it and was a pal.
One of the guys that was intimidated by Dan Curtis to give him another couple of cycles. Yes.
And told him about the Chuck Barris.
Lenny. And there are actually Lenny does a couple interviews on the DVDs too. So
he does. So so Leonard Goldberg was in charge of the TV series and science fiction visionary. And because you had all of these amazing miniature shots that really made the audience go, how did they do that?
Yeah, they are really good miniatures, actually. They're really fast.
I mean, if you're impressed by ball bearings.
Yeah.
I mean, who knew the future would be an HO scale?
Yes, exactly. But I mean, for their time, they were
for the time. That's the thing. That's relatively speaking. For the time, they were buffo.
Yeah.
Those things shot in an anamorphic lens. That was something else.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the really impressive things about it. Malls of this type were new. Even the revised sort of shape of things to come, hotels, new. All of that architecture was very, very, very new.
Yes.
So they did the movie and TV series starring Gregory Harrison, who would later be on Trapper John, MD.
Yes.
And as his raucous pal. And the premise, 18 minutes later, he got him onto it. The premise is that they are still out looking for sanctuary. And then Francis, you can be scared of a guy named Francis. Are you going to steal your bike? And Francis is looking, Logan, when I get you, you're not going to run no more.
Yeah.
Yeah, Francis is how he's going to get him.
Right.
But they are accompanied by Rem, who is a something machine
He is. He's like a precursor to like what you would find
Data.
in Star. Well, yeah, Data and yeah, pretty much
Western.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's a great character. As these outside civilized characters who can nonetheless kick ass, it's basically the writers who are all nerds, dreams of who they wish they had been in high school.
Right. Sure.
Above it all, they don't have to be attracted to women. So you don't have to deal with that. But women can be attracted to them.
Yeah.
But they're above that because they're machines. And they can be as nerdy as they want, still beat the crap out of any football goon.
Right.
It's such wish fulfillment.
Yes, it's like some comic book wish fulfillment. Some of the comic book artists that just go absolutely nuts with that kind of stuff.
Totally. I'm amazed Machine Man was not made into something back then.
Yeah.
So anyway, I love that comic. Anyway, point is, he accompanies them for some reason. Christ knows why. He's on the run also from gambling debts or Momo.
Bad programming.
And that's played by Donald Moffat.
Yes.
And Donald Moffat is known for two things. He's known for this. Andy Lawrence, is there anyone who can deal with a housewife from the right stuff? LBJ from the right stuff. And if it's all the same with you, gentlemen, I know you've had a rather long time of it, but if it's all the same, I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's that guy.
But he's also
very
many years on and off Broadway, New York stage actor.
Yes. And
huge career.
Fine actor from England, and we're lucky to have him. And so he really is the bright spot of the series because he's the one who can act.
Yes, it's true.
And he's the one the writers enjoy writing for because he's interesting.
Yes, and he could take the language and whatever language they gave him and do something with it. So yeah, it was only 14 episodes, so it wasn't even a full season because back then I think 26 was a full season.
Mm-hmm.
So they ran it, and
they got their half.
Star Wars had already come out by the time they got around to making this too. So that made a difference. The product had been sitting, it had turned to cottage cheese by that time in terms of timeliness,
Yeah.
But they used domes in this. Of course, geodesic domes were all the rage in the 70s. People were building, a
lot of stock footage,
stuff like that. Yeah, and
shooting all in Africa, USA.
Mm-hmm.
So they're covered there in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
I watched an episode last night.
Yeah,
I will say this: as far as the golden age of TV themes, which is somewhere between the 60s and 70s. Everyone thinks it's the 60s. I think the 70s are the unsung hero in there.
Well, there's a lot of great ones from television in the 70s. And
it has, for me, the greatest science fiction, like, hey, we're going on an adventure this week. Tonight, Logan's Run. That type theme.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Really good. I'm going to check on some Chex Mix.
Alan, when did you first see?
It was between 77 and 78 sometime. I believe I was still in high school. And it would have been on television. It did get out pretty fast.
Yeah.
And I think what they were doing with it after they made a reasonably decent profit of it in the movie houses was to try to make some more syndication money, or whatever. And some of it would have been local programming eventually, but they started out with networking. Get paid quite a lot of money to run it on network. So back then they did anyway. Now it would have been streaming services, obviously. But so yeah, it was a fair piece ago, and it was relatively soon after the movie came out. I'd never saw it in the movie theater though.
Yeah. So some development, some production for you guys. MGM's early attempts to adapt the book led to development hell. Producer George Powell's attempt was troubled in 1969 by competing views of what the film's story should be, including the possibility of incorporating symbolism of real-life issues. In comparison to screenwriter Richard Maybaum's vision. So rewriting Maybaum's screenplay would have taken between 2 and 3 months, and the budget would have led to have been reassessed. Powell became concerned the delays would cause the film to miss the wave of success of science fiction was
Yeah.
enjoying with 2001: A Space Odyssey and Planet of the Apes in 1968. American International Pictures offered to buy Powell's project, including Logan's Run, for $200,000, but MGM declined, only willing to accept a minimum of 350,000. Powell left the project to produce Doc Savage, The Man of Bronze, in 1975 for Warner Brothers. So Sal David assumed responsibility in 1974, with Soylent Green's author Stanley R. Greenberg assigned to write. Good pick. Greenberg devised the idea of Carousel, but afterwards dropped off the project. So David Zelag Goodman wrote a nearly completely new screenplay, raising the age of death from 21 to 30. Allow for more actors to be considered for casting, so that he changed the age. Smart move. Michael York is in this. Great movie. The set designs are really cool. The guns are really amazing. I like York and Agastor's chemistry. I haven't seen this in forever. I haven't seen this since I watched it on TCM. That was like in 2000. But what a movie! Very post-apocalyptic movie. Mixed with great science fiction. I love the machine aspect of this. The machine setting him on a mission. He's asking it questions. Hey, will you give me back my years? And the machine is like ghosting him. Um, Very, very good. So casting, York, Agater, and William Devane were cast in lead roles, with Devane announced to play an elite Sandman in May of 1975. Devane withdrew from the project and was replaced by Roy Finnis in Alfred Hitchcock's 1970s film Family Plot. Stepping in for Devane was Richard Jordan, best known for his performance in Lawman, Chatter's Land, Rooster Cogburn, and the 1976 TV miniseries Captains and the Winds. York had previously appeared in Cabaret, The Three Musketeers, and Murder on the Orient Express. So there you. Oh, by the way, filming special effects artist L.B. Abbott and Glenn Robinson regarded Carousel as the most difficult part of the film to portray, requiring hidden wires to depict the levitation for the scenes in which Logan is interrogated by the deep sleep central computer.
They are the same wires used to simulate a believable performance from Farrah Fawcett Majors.
Yes. But to hold up her wing hair.
Oh God.
She's the only one in the entire film that has winged hair.
And boy, is it. Michael Anderson Jr. running around in this?
Yeah.
He's in Major Dundee.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think Farrah
Michael
Fawcett was the
Anderson's
only
Jr.
female in the entire movie that had a special contract that said, "I will not appear nude in this film."
Really?
Yeah, I'm just guessing because
Sad.
everybody else seems to be, okay, let's take off our clothes. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of that
Bobby
going
Brown.
on. This was a very edgy film when it comes to nudity for its time. There was a lot of it. There's even an orgy room that happens. And of course,
there is.
This whole thing is happening. But also, every time, they get wet, they take their clothes off when they're fleeing. So,
Yeah.
I got wet a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the women are used for sex in this movie too, which is really interesting when you think about it, because it's like, okay, they only live to 30. It's like
got to distract from the fact that you're going to be terminated soon.
Yeah.
Let's go have fun.
Yes.
By the way, this is Farrah Fawcett Major's wooden period before she actually decided to learn. Before she had learned how to act or learned how to use her ability to act.
She doesn't get much in this movie either.
No, there's nothing at all. She's just there because I think she's just there because she's an up and comer and she's about to break it big on Charlie's Angels, and she's done a ton of ads, television ads, and a few little teeny tiny roles, but she's about to break it big. I think they're getting ready to push her over the edge, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this movie overall?
I like it. I think it's a great sojourn. There's a little Deus ex machina at the end in terms of uh, the swiftness with which everything is resolved. But that's okay. It actually, when they decide to go back, it gives you the feeling like, oh no, this film's going to end like that. So but they actually decide to give it a positive ending. This is in an era when not all films had happy endings, for darn sure.
That's true.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. So this one just happens to decide to go that way, and it's kind of rewarding, actually, especially when the old man gets surrounded by all these young people. He's like been curious to see and risked heart attack and lumbago to get there.
It's just Q and Octopussy.
Yeah, yeah. It is. That's right. All those young women just come to him. There's no
Data, perhaps.
That's right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, I like this movie anyway. It's fun. Richard Jordan is actually very good. He's crazy, at times, but he's very good at turning that on and off from enthusiasm to psychopathy. Kind of, he goes back and forth, but he's doing it where it's supposed to happen. So, and he's kind of the unvarnished philosophy of the society.
Yeah.
And actually Michael York's character is too at first. They're all having a great time going out and killing these people. They don't call it killing. They're going to be renewed. That's part of the the state religion. And that's why they have everybody floating around before they get zapped, to sort of make people believe that there's some kind of a reincarnation going on here rather than a termination.
Renew. Boy,
renew.
Craziness in the eyes.
Yeah.
Richard Jordan was the boyfriend of a guy I worked for who worked for Cy Tomashoff.
Oh, no kidding.
Cool.
That's the most I got.
Yeah.
Cool.
Richard Jordan also, he's had numerous fine performances. He's right, and he's actually a refreshingly good performance in Gettysburg, which is not a film that has a tremendous amount of great performances in, because it's more of a didactic history. Here's what happened today. Here's what happens tomorrow. Blah, blah, blah. And that's Gettysburg. Although Gettysburg is a pretty fine film for what it is. I enjoyed it. I went to see that in the theater. They had reenactors come out with flags and everything else before the film was shown. It was kind of wild, but it was cool. And I also thought that he has a great death scene in Gettysburg. It's fantastic. It's a tearjerker. It's really good. So yeah, I always liked him. I always liked his work. He sort of became famous around the same time as another actor who kind of disappeared after like 7 or 8 years, and that was James Olsen, who was also a very fine actor. He was in the Andromeda Strain, among other things, and he was very good. But he kind of disappeared after a few years of really.
Wait, was he the lead in Andromeda Strain?
He's one of them. Yeah,
he's the male lead. He's the sort of
he's the guy with the sandy hair. It's kind of a comb over kind of thing. Yeah, that's James Olsen. Good. Yeah, he was, and he did a lot of work in the 70s.
What happened?
Ton of work. He just kind of dropped out of sight after a number of years. Maybe he made enough money, he decided he's going to retire and do, something else, like, Do we
know when he died?
I don't. I think he lived. God knows he. I mean, if he'd be in his 90s if he were still alive today.
Well, I have a fear, given when his career stopped.
Yeah, he died in 2022, so it hasn't been long. And he was born in 1930, so he's of my parents' generation.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought maybe.
No. He was. He lived to be 92, 91. Born in Evanston, Illinois, died in Malibu, California. and
Yeah.
he had a huge. He was actually in films from the 50s on up through the 60s, but he became this television mainstay in the 70s. He was like in a lot of better productions.
Died in the arms of Ken Howard. I'll say no different. No print the legend. Who wouldn't want to?
That's right. But I mean, he appeared on Hawaii Five-O, Mannix, Bonanza, Wonder Woman, Kraft Television Theater in the early days, Ironside, Murder, She Wrote, Little House on the Prairie, Marcus Welby, MD, Barnaby Jones, my God, Maud, The Virginian, Streets of San Francisco, and Cannon.
All the great macho two-fisted heroes.
Well, he was kind of a cerebral. He played cerebral roles most of the time. But yeah, kind of fun. He was in Rachel in 1968 with Joan Woodward.
Yeah.
So his acting ability was obviously well respected by those who were in the know.
And Ground Strain is a huge deal.
It was, and it piqued the paranoia of the era for sure.
One of the first rated movies,
Mm-hmm.
G-rated with nudity, because they didn't
Yep.
know.
They didn't know, and it was all science anyway.
Well,
Remember,
because it's that old
PG-13.
Brady nudity. What you talking about?
Well, remember, PG-13 isn't going to happen until Temple of Doom.
That's true.
Yes,
And actually,
we were alive
PG
when
started out as
PG-13 came out.
GT. Remember, in 1970,
Yes.
the House of Dark Shadows was rated GP, which was general audiences, basically. General audiences with a like 13-year-old or whatever it was, supposedly, that you weren't supposed to go see it before you were 13. And then it became PG and PG-13.
Yeah.
I gotta let my dog out, guys. I'll be right back.
So the robot character box was portrayed by placing actor Roscoe Lee Brown in a robot costume. Rainbow tape had just been invented and was used on the models for the city scenes. It gave a futuristic effect. I did love the whole ice part because you have these people like encapsulated in snow. It's like, so people did make it out of there, but they didn't make it past the robot. And
Weirdest security system ever. That's what Trump would have for Mexicans trying to get into the U.S. They'd run into Roscoe Lee Brown in a robot suit trying to freeze them. They just cool off. Gracias, senor. You know, it'll be fine. It is my job to freeze you. Have you recognized Roscoe Lee Brown as the star of Who Me, which was behind me for several months on your show? He was that guy. That's Roscoe Lee Brown.
Mm-hmm. He was also in movies. He was in The Cowboys with John Wayne,
Yeah.
The World's Greatest Athlete, John Amos, Jan Michael Vincent. So really, really interesting. Was he a stuntman in a sense too?
No, he was a stage actor. He was a fine Shakespearean stage actor with a beautiful voice.
Yeah, his voice is used for the robot too, so it's not just him in a costume, which is interesting. So
that was the weirdest scene in the entire movie, I have to say.
Yeah,
my job to please you.
Yes, it's like protein from the sea. I'm gonna praise you.
I'll tell you what, Roscoe, the only fruit I see from the sea, my friend. Say no more.
All right. Yeah, so sea cucumbers definitely had a fascination.
Oh, God.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, one thing I noticed too, going back and rewatching this, was Michael York's character kind of misses on purpose at times with his gun. It's like,
well, you don't want him to be a gleeful killer, you know. Whereas his buddy is more or less. His buddy's a true believer. So, and once he realizes that it's termination, not renewal,
and termination without representation.
Yes,
which is what I object
tyranny. It's definitely
it is. Now, hang on. I'm sending you guys in the chat for this something vital that, of course, the viewers have no idea what I'm doing. They don't care. I just wasted everyone's time. And I laughed. You hear me? I laughed. This is a special Christmas greeting come early, courtesy of me and Box. I made this years ago.
Box, who would go on to play God in a sitcom later. Yes.
That's right. And who me?
That's
We were
right.
just talking about that.
That's right.
Yes.
See if you check the chat for this.
Now there he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's my Christmas greeting.
Uh-huh. Pretty cool.
I don't know what, but Box is a very Christmassy character.
Yes, he is. And he's
Winter.
throwing out sea cucumbers and fish and whatever else to the crowd.
It's his
yes.
job
Yes.
to freeze you.
It is his job.
Yeah, he was pretty effective until Michael York's character showed.
That scene was another excuse to show, a little TNA, the frozen people. You could see,
Yeah.
They were all naked. That's like
Can't get frozen clothes on.
1976.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. Well, they probably like Aguiter's character and York's character is they probably got naked because they were cold from the water.
Well, that was the excuse they used to get them out of their clothes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was not a good age to be 6.
Yeah.
Because you're so curious anyway.
Yeah.
And you're surrounded by teasing implications everywhere.
Yes.
I mean, no wonder. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Same for me. I was coming up around the same time. So, well, I was a little older, so I was even more in more trouble.
Yeah.
So,
too little helpless. Be glad you grew up with the internet.
Actually, technically, it didn't. Not really. The internet didn't boom until after '98.
Well, it's been around since the early 80s, though. Yeah.
Yeah, but
the golden age of dial-up started around 83, something like that, 82, 83.
Yeah, but I wasn't really on it all that much.
Yeah, I had a different experience because I was spending summers with a guy who was a total tech geek, and he had separate phone lines in his house for dial-up.
See, I was actually watching movies. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Damn. What's you guys' favorite scene in this movie?
I love the scene where they meet the old man. It's the coolest thing ever. Where he's just kind of, what? What are you talking about? You want to touch my face? What? All this stuff. It's interesting. It's also very revelatory for the two characters that have just stumbled out of this domed city.
Well, if you thought the Lincoln Memorial was old,
yeah,
Peter Ustinov,
yeah. So yeah, I like that scene probably the best of any of them. It was a reward for following the chase, to have this sort of, and then of course, his buddy shows up and tries to ruin everything, but he doesn't quite do that. So
when I watched the movie this time, I tried to figure out where they were, and I think the domed city is Baltimore.
Maybe, or around that time. It's somewhere near Washington, D.C. It can't be that far away.
Yeah, given the proximity to D.C., I think Baltimore's your safest bet.
It's either, it could be that they developed one of the bedroom communities in Virginia, too. There's all of that.
Where's Mount Weather? Does that mean West Virginia?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, Mount Weather, West Virginia.
Yeah.
So it could be like,
but like this, Arlington's a big, big deal across the river. So there's that. There's all sorts of places in that area. And Baltimore certainly one of them. It's not that far away. Might be a few days walk, but you could still get there.
Well, that's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
Patrick, some of your favorite scenes? Okay.
Oh, the plastic surgery scene.
Yeah.
It is my job to freeze you. The first carousel scene. He's dialing up the girls. All of the future could be this type stuff. I really enjoy
insanity of the edgy, almost completely nuts stuff that's going on.
Yeah. Once we get done with, Bob Guccione's Tomorrowland, I've run out of interest.
Yeah.
It doesn't do much for me. But the early part, the first few reels, yeah.
Yeah. The carousel was really interesting the second time around, and the facelift See that whole doctor getting the holy shit.
Mhm.
Farrah Fawcett just standing there like in shock. In
They'd give her
shock.
nothing to do in this
Yeah,
movie,
they did.
which is
They,
not necessarily all her fault, but it just
no.
points out that she's inexperienced at this point.
Yes. Yes. Uh, but her posturing was really good, though. I mean,
Well, her posture is fantastic.
Yes, her posture was very good.
yes, yes. Um, uh, you're welcome, Miss Farrah Fawcett. You're welcome.
That's right.
But, I mean, look, when you get your first move, not everybody gets a ton to do. I mean, we know that. So another when they first walk into the Congress and there's the cats and the old man, it's like that's gold because they're still being chased by the other dude, and I like his entrance into that room because he sees stuff on Jenny's character and he grabs her by the mouth and he holds her hostage. And I love the fight sequence between him and Michael York. Michael York always did a really good job with his fight sequences that I like. So I guess maybe 11 guys. What do you give it?
I give it 10. I like it.
9 or 9.
Okay. I think it's one of the early auditions that Michael York has for the Austin Powers series.
Oh yeah,
especially the last 10 minutes of the movie where he's like agog about thing. It's like
he does agog well.
He does agog well.
Does.
Sort of that wavy sexuality agog.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always with no shirt and his chest bones visible and his nipple
clavicle all the way across.
Yeah. That's Michael York has to be seen that way in his contract.
Yep.
And when he was on Curb Your Enthusiasm, he did that. Every episode.
Maybe I'm kind of shocked because he was, to me, Michael York was sort of like your action star in the 70s.
Well, he did the Three Musketeers, and that's probably why he got that reputation. Big time.
And he's good.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of shocked that in the 80s, like he didn't get more action roles. Like,
may not have wanted to do
he was a little
lot of that. Yes.
And aging just a tad. And I think doing it, God forbid, gracefully.
Yeah.
And I think I get the idea Michael may have moved into a different phase of his life. I think he may have stopped and had kids or something. Yeah.
Something real life happened, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it was really refreshing to see him in Austin Powers.
Yeah.
That was such a treat. It's like, oh, thank God. The world's not over yet. Michael York is still with us.
That's right. And he's an absolute avatar of the late swinging London period. So
even referring to swinging here in swinging London.
Yes. Swinging London that swings both ways.
Well, we do unfortunately have to live in a world without Chuck Norris anymore. I mean, that is so
I liked the Chuck Norris of pre-Texas Ranger, to be honest with you. The guy actually was the Octagon and all of that stuff. And that
what
was
about the Canon Pictures era? The
real, he was part of that. Yeah, absolutely. That was when he was a real action hero back then. He was doing a lot of that stuff. And his terrible acting didn't matter because he was always doing something. So
it was terrible. I mean, let's appreciate Chuck. Appreciate his martial arts.
Yes.
Appreciate his heart.
Yep.
Because he sold that fake food and weird cures. The elderly
wife had him appearing on infomercials, but when he didn't know where the hell he was.
Hawking snake oil.
Yeah.
But beyond that, Chuck, I got to give him this. Harpo Marx, when he was a kid, was branded a genius by his teachers for his inability to learn anything. Chuck Norris, somebody whose appeal I never understood. He's a fine martial artist. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
But so is Stephen Chow, and I can see a lot more when I see Stephen Chow. But the Chuckster never learned. You look at almost any other. I know I'm speaking of the dead. I'm sorry, but you look at almost every other actor who just appears with other actors for a few years for a living. Bubba Smith.
They pick something up. Yeah.
They pick something up.
Yeah. Not Chuck.
He is the same as he was in the Ambushers.
Yeah.
The Wrecking Crew is exactly.
Or Enter the Dragon, for that matter.
No, his voice is too high pitched for his body, which always kind of set me off. I was like, what? Who,
It's
wait.
like he would have been great in the silent era.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Well,
just
remember,
you look for some nuance of acting. I mean, Jesus Christ, he made Hulk Hogan look like Derek Jacobi.
Well, he certainly made Michael Jai White look like Derek Jacobi.
Yes, he did.
Yes, because Michael Jai White can actually do some acting and is a very good martial artist. As a matter of fact, he's so good that Steven Seagal wouldn't mess with him.
But you know,
Yeah.
you look like guys like Bernie Casey.
Mm-hmm.
What an actor. Jesus.
Yeah, ex football player turns into a really
Yes.
good actor. Yeah.
when I think about the late Chuck Norris, in any interview he ever gave, he had every opportunity to knock Seagal or anybody else. He didn't. He
Very
understood
gracious.
because he was a great martial artist himself. He
Yeah.
understood the dedication it took to have that.
He tried to avoid it as much as possible, but it was clear in some interviews what his opinion of Seagal was, is that he didn't really care for him, but he wouldn't come out and say that. So
And remember when he was recruited for Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee didn't pick Chuck Norris for any acting. He picked him because he was a world champion.
he picked him so that he could have a fight with him at the end of the movie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Chuck Norris was the reason the Soviet Union fell, because they watched they watched
drop kick the wall.
Yeah, that's right. Did you guys ever hear that? Because they fell after, what was it, the movie
Invasion USA.
Yeah, no, not Invasion USA. Mission in Action.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out. Oh my god. But yeah, R.I.P. Chuck Norris, R.I.P. Stuart Goodman. My gosh. Is there anything you guys want to add about this movie before we go?
Just one reflection on Stuart Goodman. He's a really nice guy, and any of the interviews that you see with him, and some of them are up on YouTube, and I think there's at least one on the DVD, Dark Shadows DVD. He was really, really forthcoming and enjoyed talking about his time on Dark Shadows.
He's got the hair.
Yeah.
He's got that fabulous hair.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good guy, good hair. Good work as a cameraman.
Yeah. Link to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Day Book about is going to be in the description box. Link to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel, Collins Port After Dark, is going to be in the description box. You guys have a good night. Stay safe.
Peace out.
Cool, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.